very bravely talking about your baby's diagnosis. And I think me and the whole world, hearts just broke for you, because it was you being vulnerable and open and honest. And I sent you a message just saying, I hope you're okay. And what was so amazing is you sent me back just saying, I just wanted to spread awareness about this. Can you tell everyone who doesn't know the diagnosis, what's happened with your babies?
So spinal muscular atrophy is a muscular wasting disease. And what it does is, well, they don't have a gene that we all have in our body. So because of that, their now muscles are deteriorating and wasting away. And if you don't get them treatment in time, eventually the muscles will all just die, which then affects the breathing, the swallowing, everything, and they will die before the age of 2. Yeah.
Oh man, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. It's not okay, but it is what it is, and I just have to accept it and now just try and make the best out of this situation. And my girls are, honestly, I mean, I've said it so much, they are the strongest, most resilient babies. And I really believe that they are going to defy all the odds. I really believe that, because they already have. It's mad. They were in my belly. They had Pt.2, which it affects a rare percentage of identical twins, and that means it's when there's only one placenta that both the babies feed off of. And it's crap for both of them, because one will get more of the nutrients and one won't. But either way, it doesn't matter. Even the baby that's getting too many nutrients, it still affects them. It's not good. And so if you don't get treatment for that, they will die. It's like 95%. Yeah.
This is what's in the documentary. There's 95% of this.
Yeah, that they won't survive. And it's just mad to me that, like, when it's like I watch it so differently now. Like when I've watched it back, I like see everything through a completely different lens, because I'm like, they had that, but they also had SMA. And then they just went on to like fight it all.
When you find out the diagnosis, you said, what happened? How do you discover that? What are the symptoms? What are the signs?
So we'd been in the NICU neonatal ward for a month with them, because they were obviously born early because of the situation that I had with the TTTS. So they came early.
Can I ask how early or no?
So they were, they were 31 weeks. And they were tiny. They were so small. It's so mad, because I remember seeing like full-term babies around the time that I had them, and full-term babies look like toddlers to me.
Yeah,
that's how tiny they were. And I just remember thinking, no, I can't ever imagine them being that big.
What, the size of your
hand? Yeah, literally. And that was so tough. That was so hard, because I had my C-section, and before I went in for that, they said to me, because I'd been living in hospital for nearly 3 months because of my situation, and because I was told that they could come at any point.
So they didn't want me in hospital.
Yeah, so I lived there for like nearly 3 months, and because of the situation that I was in, and I was told that they could come at any point, they wouldn't allow me to go home, because obviously I went home and they came, then the survival rate would be next to nothing. So they wanted me to be in hospital just to be ready for if they came. I was told they were going to come at 21 weeks, they were going to come at 24 weeks, and it just kept going on and on and on, which was amazing, because we were just like at one point we didn't even think they were going to be here. So they came, and right before I went in for my C-section, I'd had to, because I'd been in hospital and bedbound for so long, I'd been taking these blood thinning injections. And
so you didn't clot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So right before I had my C-section, the lady said to me, oh, sorry, just quickly before we, they numb your back.
Yeah.
When was the last time you had your blood thinning injections? I said, 2 hours ago. And she said, oh, Jesy, I can't give you the injection. We're going to have to put you to sleep.
Oh my God.
And I was like, oh, are you actually kidding me? So now I'm going to miss this as well.
Wow.
Like, I feel like in my whole pregnancy, everything was taken from me. Like, all the things you're supposed to enjoy, they were all taken from me. And I was like, that was my one thing. I was so excited to see, like, the birth of my children. And I didn't get that either. So I was like, but I was in such a state of like shock that they were coming that I kind of just forgot about it. And I just wanted them to be safe and well. So anyway, I got put to sleep.
What are you feeling when you go to sleep? What is
I was just scared. I was so scared, because they were early, and you just don't know. You don't know what the outcome is. Are they gonna survive? Are they not? So I was just terrified. And Zion wasn't allowed to be in the room, so he had to be out of the room the whole time.
Jesy, I can't even imagine those emotions that you're going through.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Like, let alone all the complications.
Yeah.
And being put to sleep and not even knowing what the future holds.
Yeah. And then it's like you wake up and you're so out of it. So
yeah,
then,
you don't know what's going on.
I remember waking up and Zion was there. And he was like, they're fine. They're amazing. And I was like, oh my God. And I just wanted to see them. And it's the most awful feeling when you've carried babies for 9 months in your belly and you wake up, they're not there and you can't even see them. And I remember being like, well, I want to go see them. So we can't see them yet. Like, we need to make sure you're okay. And then you can go see them. And then when you do go see them, they're in a plastic box and you can't touch them. And it's like,
these little things.
Like, it's so unnatural as a mother to not have your baby on you. And then you literally see them in this, like, which is essentially a plastic box, and you can't touch them. And you just have to see them with all these tubes and these masks on. And they're so tiny. And all you want to do is pick them up and cuddle them, and you can't. And it was horrific. And no one could have prepared me for that part, because I just felt helpless. And when they would cry, like, your natural instinct, like, when, like, to just pick them up when they cry because you want to comfort them. And when they're crying and they've got these massive masks on and these tubes and you can't pick them up and you just have to look at them in a box, it's like, it's horrendous. Yeah, it's hard.
That is...
Yeah, no one could have prepared me for that part.
And it's gonna make me go. It's sad. It's sad for people who don't even have kids. When you have a kid, you can't even imagine.
Yeah.
So when did you first hold them?
The next day. And that was just like magical. It was so magical. And that's in the documentary. We filmed everything. Yeah, everything. We filmed everything.
Good on you. Well done for being brave enough to let cameras in and see that and do that. The awareness you're going to spread is going to I cannot imagine the impact.
I hope so.
Jesy,
I really hope so.
I cannot tell you. And I mean, you will feel it, I'm sure, but it's incredible that you've done that, because the emotions you must have been going through and the toughness and the heart and all those things. When did you get to take them home? So
we were in the first hospital for a week.
Mm-hmm.
I then had to be sent back to my local hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really tough because I obviously I couldn't stay there. So then having to, like, even just that, like, leaving your baby in the hands of, obviously, who are amazing.
But a stranger.
And you just have to go. It's honestly, I can't even describe to you how unnatural it is to have a baby and then just be taken from you.
Yeah.
And you just can't even do what's, like, your natural instinct is just look after them and care for them and
especially as a mother.
Them. Yeah. Then they were there for a month in my local hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And that is like, that is one of the hardest things I've ever had to go through, because I just, every time I would come in, having to see another woman hold and look after my baby was just, like, heartbreaking for me, because I was like, they don't even know I'm their mum. They've been taken from me, and now every time they are picked up, they're picked up by a different woman. How? And I kept saying to Zion, how, and my mum, like, how do they even know that I'm their mum? And everyone would go to me, oh, don't be silly. They know you're your mum from your scent and your heartbeat. But until you go through it, I can't explain to you how painful it is. And I'll never forget when I walked in and one of the ladies was feeding her with a bottle for the first time. And I was just like, I felt like I just wanted to die, because I was like, that's
my job.
That's my job.
That's what
and
I
it's
should be
so
doing.
I can't even explain to you how, like, painful it is to, like,
angry.
Yes, and it's such a horrible feeling to have, because they're there to help and look after your children, and they're doing an amazing job. But at the same time, like, you can't help these feelings. It got so bad to the point where I remember when my mum, because obviously at that time, because they're so vulnerable, you're only allowed mum and dad and grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
And bless my mum, I remember when she came and I couldn't even let my mum hold them, because I was like, I just want, like, I don't want any more women holding them because they don't know who I am. And I remember when I eventually left, I was like, I don't want anyone in my house. I don't want any woman in my house. I just want them to know me. And I've only really just kind of gotten over that now, that feeling. Even me and my sister like look so much alike. And I remember when my sister was like, oh, so excited to hold them. And I remember my whole body was like rejecting, was just like, no, I don't want to hold them. But at the same time, I knew how much she wanted to hold them. And the whole time she was holding them, all I kept thinking was, we look alike and they're going to think you're their mum.
Isn't it mad what these...
Yeah.
But you're a lioness and that's what you do. You're in protective mode, right?
Yeah.
You just want to protect and be there and hold and everything.
Mm-hmm.
When did you notice that Ocean's story maybe weren't developing as quickly?
So this is the part that I'm trying to get over. So when they were in the neonatal ward, you're constantly told, don't compare your babies because they're not going to be like full-term babies. They're not going to reach the same milestones. Don't, because you'll just torture yourself. So that was like, and when I tell you, like they like drill that into you, like don't compare your baby. So when we took them home, I noticed all the signs, but didn't know what they were. I just thought it was because they were premature. So even when I held them for the first time, their legs were like in this frog leg position. And I remember turning to Simon and saying, oh, their legs are so cute. Look at this little position that they're laying on me in. And then when I took them home, when I'd lay them down to change their nappy, their bellies were like a bell shape. So SMA babies, their ribs will go in and their bellies come out like this. And they breathe from their belly. They won't breathe from their chest. And I just remember saying to my mum, like, oh, haven't they got unusual little shaped bellies? And she was like, I know, it's because they're premature. And I just saw all of the signs, but I just had no idea because I was constantly told, don't compare your baby. So I just thought that was normal. And then me and Zion decided we wanted to move to Cornwall because we just wanted our babies to we felt like they'd been through all this trauma and we just wanted them to grow up in like peaceful setting and just be around the sea and just live like a kid. So we went to Cornwall and I honestly was not even taking notice of their legs because they were like, you know, they're my first set of children. So I don't know how they should be moving their legs or what they should and shouldn't be doing anyway. But it was like kind of their feet would move just like this. But there was no like, you know, like most babies would kick their legs quite frantically, but theirs were just like this. And, you know, because we'd moved 6 hours away, now my mum wasn't with me every day. So she, I think, noticed how much it deteriorated. And she was looking at them in their little rockers and she said, Jesy, they don't move their legs very much. Have you noticed that? And I was like, really? And she was like, yeah, have you not noticed they just don't kick their legs? They should be kicking their legs. I said, Mum, they're premature. They're like, you're comparing them. And she kept comparing them to my nephew. She was like, no, but don't you remember when George was a baby and he would really kick? And I said, but George was a full-term baby. Yeah. You can't compare them. And we've been told that. She was like, I know, Jesy, but something's not right. She was like, there's something not right. And my mum is she's such a worrier. She worries about everything, like everything. And a bit like me, thinks the worst in every situation. And so I just thought that was her.
Just worrying.
Yeah. And then a week went by and I remember changing their nappy and just thinking, oh God, they actually don't move their legs at all. Like for some reason, they just stopped. There was nothing. It was like a little toe would move. And I'd be like, and I remember saying to Zion, I actually think my mum's right. Like, this isn't normal. I said, we need to go see someone because something's not right. So we went to the paediatrician and they do all these like tests on them. It's horrible. They're almost like, well, they are with babies that have SMA. They're like rag dolls. They can't. They're so like. Even now, when I hold them, people still think they're like newborn babies because the way that I have to hold them because they can't hold themselves up. They're like newborn babies, so they're very floppy. They can't do anything. So he's like tipping them upside down and he's doing all this stuff on them and you're a bit like, it's very overwhelming. And he said, okay. And I just, when you just know, you just, I don't know if it's a mother's instinct or it's just an instinct. I just knew from the like way he was speaking to me that something serious was going to happen. And he said, okay, they're showing signs of hypertonia. I was like, what's that? And he said, well, before I get into that, I want to get them for some blood tests and I want to do a brain scan on them. I was like, a brain scan? He said, yeah, one of their heads looks quite big and I'm worried she's got fluid on her brain. And I was like, oh, okay. And he was like, so we need to do that straight away. I want to do that straight away. I said, okay, well, how long is that going to take? He said, I don't know, could be a couple of weeks. I said, well, at that point I was like, I'm going home. I'm going home and I'm going to go see someone privately. And I remember walking out of the room and I just burst into tears. And Zion's very like, the complete opposite to me. He thinks the best in every situation, which is probably, how we all should be. But I'm just not wired that way.
No, but you've also been in fight or flight mode since 21 weeks, right? So you're already alert on everything.
Yeah. And I said, we're going home. And I remember getting on the phone to my mum and she was like, so what did they say? What did they say? And I said, it said they're showing signs of hypertonia. And she was like, what's that? And I said, well, he told me it's poor muscle tone. And everyone was like, oh, that's all right. They're just going to need physio. And Zion was like, they're just going to need physio, Jess. That's like, we're really worrying. That's like, and I was like, I just knew. I can't explain this feeling I had. I just knew. And everyone was like, don't Google. Well, of course I Googled.
Yeah.
And the first thing that comes up when you Google hypertonia is SMA type 1. And it says, if you do not get treatment, your baby will not make it past the age of 2. And I just remember feeling like, like in a movie when, have you seen it when like the person is standing and the whole world is just spinning around them and they're like, that's what that moment felt like. And before I even read what the symptoms were, I just knew that's what they had. I just knew it. I don't know why, I just knew. And then it showed me the symptoms and every single symptom was what they were showing. And I said, Zion, just read that. He's like, that's not what they've got. That's not what they've got. You're being negative. You're being negative. I said, I'm not being negative. I know that's what they've got. I said, and if this is the case, like, we need to fucking do something because time's of the fucking essence now. Like, well, this is not a joke. So we took them to a private paediatrician in London. And that was one of the worst parts. So he did pretty much the same thing that the other guy did. But he didn't beat around the bush. He went, well, this is really alarming.
He said that? Yeah.
And I was like, okay, what do you mean by that? And he said, well, it's like your children are practically paralysed from the waist down. And at that point, I was just like, okay. I said, all right, what do we need to do? He said, well, you need to get a blood test. He said, because this is very serious. Like, I believe this is very serious. I said, okay, where do I get a blood test done? Where can I go privately? He said, you can't. I said, what do you mean you can't get a private blood test? He said, you can't. They won't do a blood test privately on a baby this little. So at this point, I'm like, weeks have gone by now, right? And I'm like, this is like, and the craziest thing as well is that now I'm really starting to see their legs deteriorate because it's that quick. So now I'm like, then there's no movement now. When I saw there was a little bit and now there's nothing. So he was like, right, first thing I want to do is send you for an EMG. I said, what's an EMG? He's like, well, it's going to tell us whether it's nerves or it's muscles. If it's nerves, then that means that's to do with the brain. And if it's muscles, that means it's, the muscles are not working. I was like, right, okay. So he's like, so I'm going to send you to have an EMG done. And I was like, all right, so after that, then what happens? And he was like, well, it will give us like a 95% accuracy of, what it's the diagnosis is going to be. But until we get a blood test, we're not going to know. I was like, oh, how can I get the blood test? He was like, what I need to do is write you up a letter and then you're going to need to take that to your local hospital. And I'm just thinking, oh my God, this is just days and days and days of like wasting time. So they had their EMG and I said to the lady, how long do these results take? She said, oh, well, I'll have them by the end of the day. And I was like, oh, brilliant. So can you send them over to the doctor? So she said, yeah. So I rang him and he wasn't answering, and his secretary answered the phone. She was like, he's gone away on holiday. And I'm like, is this a fucking joke? I'm like,